All right. Good morning, everyone. Joseph Banks here, Assistant Director for Career Services at Utah State University and the dedicated career coach for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. I just want to first off welcome everyone that's here today, as well as any future listeners that might be checking this out later on YouTube, to our Digital Takeout series, a great opportunity for students to hear from other USU alums and learn about their experiences. Now, before we begin, I just want to let everyone know that they're welcome to use the question and answer feature to put in any questions that they'd like to ask our speaker today. And we'll also have London monitoring those to be able to ask our guest near the end of the program. Today, we have an extra special guest, so I want to turn the time over to Andrea to help introduce him.
Thank you, Joe. My name is Andrea DeHaan. I'm the Outreach Coordinator for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and I'm excited to talk to our guest today, someone who will probably be familiar to most of you. Our guest today is Dean Joe Ward. I want to give you a little bit of background before we jump into what promises to be an engaging conversation with someone who has met certainly more alumni in my time with CHAS than anyone else I know. But let me tell you a little bit about Dean Ward's background before we start with the first question. Joseph P. Ward is the Dean of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Prior to joining Utah State University in 2016, he was a professor and chair of history at the University of Mississippi. A specialist in the society and culture of England during the 16th and 17th centuries, Ward has published more than a dozen journal articles and book chapters, and he is author or editor of 8 books, including Culture, Faith, and Philanthropy, Londoners and Provincial Reform in Early Modern England, and London, A Social and Cultural History, 1550 to 1750. And I enjoy being able to read that because I think sometimes we do, forget that deans also are academians, and Dean Ward, also has a role in the history department. So, Joe, I do want to start with this question, which is, as I alluded to, you have been able to talk to many, many alumni as the dean, both recent graduates and new, and, graduates from further afar. And as you've spoken with them, what kind of personality traits, professional experiences, or leadership qualities have you noticed as a common theme? Are there overlapping tendencies or things that you recognize when you're speaking to a CHAS alum?
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone, and I'm really delighted to be here with you to talk about this really cool subject. What I've noticed in conversations now with a few hundred alumni in my 5 years as dean is a growth mindset that CHAS alumni just bring to whatever they're doing, a sense of curiosity. And they're very interested to know how things work, how things could work better, how to move forward. And when they look inward, when they assess their own strengths, weaknesses, they see opportunities for development. So in a work environment, they're interested in taking on new kinds of projects. They're interested in being collaborative. They're interested in bringing more to whatever it is they're doing than may have been the case at an earlier stage in their team membership at whatever enterprise, for-profit, nonprofit, you name it. So there's a kind of lean forward attitude that I see from our alumni, and I think that makes them very adaptable. We hear all the time when people are talking about the current state of the economy and as they look forward, adaptability, thinking about how is whatever we're doing now going to be different a few years from now. Maybe there's technological change. Maybe the marketplace is expanding or contracting. So being curious, right? Being personally motivated to grow and develop, and understanding that conditions will change. Those are some of the key characteristics that I see from CHAS alumni. As you mentioned, Andrea, in your introduction, it's awkward to hear people talk about me, but you did just fine. Yes, I'm an historian, and many people have this sense that historians study the past. Historians study change. Historians are very much aware and sensitive to how things are constantly moving, and they're trying to understand what led to change going in one direction rather than another. And I think you can look across the many academic disciplines in our college and find similar approaches. How do things work? How are they different now than they were in the past? What do we think is going to happen as we go forward?
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and so just as you've also been talking with other alumni there, has there been any I don't know, like really interesting or like different career paths of CHAS alumni that have either surprised you in any way or thought, hey, this is really unique path?
Joe, one of the very best things about my current role is I meet people from every possible walk of life. You name it. Our college has alumni who are in the local community here in Cache Valley, or they're working all over the globe. We have alumni who are in health professions, physicians, dentists. We have alumni who are attorneys. We have alumni in government, politics. We have alumni throughout the business realm, entrepreneurs running their own companies or senior managers in large organizations. So it's very difficult to talk about what I've seen from our alumni. But I have to say, coming into this role, I was really surprised at how many of our alumni are running their own businesses. That their experience in college involved a lot of different opportunities academically and outside the classroom to develop the skill sets to create a business and to help that business sustain itself. Some of these are small shops, but some are large multinational companies now with rapidly growing customer bases around the world. So I guess in looking at the statistics, it shouldn't have surprised me, but I have been impressed at how many CHAS alumni are in careers that would be labeled under the general umbrella of business.
Thank you. So moving beyond, thinking about what surprises you, what is it that in your experience, Joe, is it that CHAS graduates do to effectively articulate their skills to prospective employers, and how can they continue to improve on how they articulate those skills to employers?
This is an area where mentoring can make a really important difference for our students in their development. We're in a college as part of a university, so we tend to think along the lines of labels that sound academic, right? We tend to think, oh, you're a major in this or you're a major in that. And what employers want to know is what skills has a person developed during college. The major really isn't something that, when I talk to hiring agents, recruiters at companies, including the really successful homegrown companies here in Utah, the Silicon Slopes type companies, they really, when they're thinking about the person they want to hire, they're not thinking in terms of a major, right? So I think for students, they need to kind of reverse engineer it. They need to say, okay, well, what type of enterprise do I want to work in? What's the environment I want to work in? And what do those folks actually do? And then how would they describe the skills they have? And then how do I get from what I've been doing in college to that point? So alumni engagement, Andre and Joe in London, as you've been doing, asking alumni to come back and talk with current students about their experience in their own career and to unpack that for the students. And I think students come away really impressed that they're further along the path than they realize, because they maybe just hadn't been used to thinking about skills. Communication, for example. I hear this over and over again. It doesn't matter how good your idea is. If you can't get it across to another person in a meaningful way, it's not going to be effective. And so in an enterprise, you're trying to solve problems for people, whether it's through a product or a service. And so you need to be able to communicate to those clients, those customers, how you can help them. So you may have all the skills they're looking for, but if you can't describe them effectively and communicate, you're not going to get very far. So you think about our academic programs in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, all those papers that faculty are asking students to write, and students write with enthusiasm. Those papers are great practice in communication, writing for an audience. So that's an example of how you think, well, it's a homework assignment. I have to write this 3-page paper on Machiavelli's Prince. Well, actually, it's an opportunity to practice developing your communication skills. So anything that we can do to encourage students to identify the skills they have and to communicate that to potential employers, I think that's really, really valuable. Alumni play a huge role, but you do too. Joe and colleagues in the career services, I know you probably spent a lot of time doing a skills inventory with students and then trying to match up the skills that the students are developing with career paths. So I think the alumni, the career services, all that we're doing with networking, I think it can help students to really make that connection for how they get from here to there.
Thanks. And kind of building off of that, Joe, it's really important, talking about that network. And one of the biggest networks that our students and our alumni have is each other right here in the College of Humanities. So I was going to ask you, we've talked a little bit about these digital, takeout series and stuff where we're having alumni come back, but also what are other ways that either, soon to graduate, students or recent alums, what are other ways that they can help connect with the university and help keep that network going strong?
I strongly encourage students to engage with LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's just become ubiquitous in the realm of employment. You think about a number of products that end up, the name of the company ends up defining the thing, right? So we're having a video conference. A year ago, we would say we're having a video conference. Now we just say we're going to Zoom. Okay. LinkedIn is really, I think, in the realm of careers, as ubiquitous as Zoom has become in the realm of video conferencing. So I think from a student who might not be, connected through LinkedIn, how does it work? What do you do? Well, there are a couple of key features. One, there's a news feed. So lots of things are getting posted all the time that describe what's going on in the economy, talking about skills, talking about growth areas, right? So you just kind of pick up, by following the feed, you pick up some of the larger national, international conversations around careers. But as you begin to network, right? So I would encourage any current student or alumni to go ahead and reach out to me. I'd be happy to have them join my LinkedIn network. Then people within your network start posting things and you begin to see, oh, okay, this is what this person who graduated 5 years ago is up to, right? Because a common feature, as you begin to make more and more connections, you're notified when people start a new job or when they've been promoted. And you can kind of go in and look at their, how they describe their own career path. And you can begin to see, oh, that person started out as a political science major too. Oh, they did the Washington internship program. Oh, now they're doing this. Oh, that's interesting, right? So you can begin to piece together a variety of paths for someone who may be starting in a similar position to the position you're in now, but they were there a few years ago. So that for me is a big part of the networking. It's kind of shared experience. And also, we see this regularly. People who might be hiring managers or on search committees will put out on LinkedIn, hey, we're hiring, come join our team. So you actually do get information about job opportunities that might interest you. So I'm really an advocate for LinkedIn. It's something that I'm on several times a day. It's really my main social media. There are other ways to stay connected through social media. Our college, the university, is on all of the different social media platforms. Sometimes we think of it as InstaSnap or whatever. We've got it. The college and the university are very active in social media, so you can also just stay in touch that way. But I also want to say that USU has, in the last few years, really invested resources and energy in its alumni networks. Approximately, 60 or 70% of USU alumni are along I-15, more or less, right? So there are large active alumni chapters here in Utah, but also nationally, in all the big metro areas. USU is establishing alumni networks. Some are a little bit more active than others. So I would encourage students to really keep an eye out for the Alumni Association and connect with them through social media or just through their emails. And there are events. We're all looking forward to being able to get together three-dimensionally once again. But I think alumni events, USU, for example, might have a night, USU night at a Jazz NBA game, or USU night at some other happening. So that's another way to stay in touch.
So we've talked about the importance of networks. We've talked about the importance of mentorship or attending events like these to learn how to articulate skills and to start building connections. With respect, Joe, to current or incoming CHAS students, what kinds of things can they do, both as students, but also outside of the classroom to prepare for their future career while they're still in school at Utah State?
One of the strongest impressions I have from the many conversations with alumni I've engaged in is how valuable what happens outside the classroom proves to be over time. So alumni tell me regularly that their academic pursuits in college were very meaningful. I hear high praise for our faculty, the ability of faculty to help students grow, to challenge them, to push their intellectual, cultural growth, to develop skills. So the faculty in the academic program, it plays a very, very important role, of course, in the overall development of a student. But its engagement in clubs, in activities, okay, for those students who are able to do that. Part-time employment. Listen, I totally understand how important part-time jobs are for most of our students. They're trying to pay their bills. But sometimes those part-time jobs you have while you're in school or during the summer break, those can lead to longer-term opportunities. So I would encourage students to be a little bit selective when it comes to those employment opportunities. You may have an opportunity here with a company that's going to ask you to, take things out of boxes and put them on shelves. And you may have an opportunity over here to work in a company's communication department and be involved in managing their website. This job might pay you to start, $3 an hour more than this job. But this job might have more room to grow. And this job might also put you in contact with people who are, in a career path that might interest you. You might have more opportunities for mentoring, okay? Don't get me wrong. I understand for many of our students, $3 an hour is a huge amount of money. Okay, I'm not trying to minimize that. But what I am trying to suggest is that students think not only about the dollars and cents when they're choosing an employment opportunity, think also, okay, am I going to be able to develop skills? So that's an important factor there. Increasingly, we're talking about internships. Now, internships come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some can be 2 months long and fill a whole summer. Some can be part-time while you're in school. But an internship is another way to learn about a potential career path and to develop some skills while you're a student. One of the challenges with internships is they don't always pay well. So again, it's a trade-off. You know, there are only so many hours in a day, and I know that students have bills they have to pay. But sometimes those really humble internships get your foot in the door. You can demonstrate that you have a growth mindset. You can demonstrate other personal attributes that can lead to a paying job a little bit down the road. So internships are very important. Also, anything you can do to demonstrate a commitment to your community. A few years ago, we had an employer in the Valley come and do a presentation for our college involving, several students were in the room. And he was talking about what he looks for when he hires. And a student asked what he looks for on a resume. It was very impressive. He responded by saying he looks on every resume for a section called community service. It's like, wow, I mean, that was a little surprising. He says, no, he says, what you do with your time when it's in your control and no one's paying you to do it, what you choose to do with your free time says a lot about you. Now, I know that not everyone has lots of free time. I get it. But if you do have some free time and you volunteered an organization in your community, that says something interesting about you. That can help you to separate yourself from some of the other applicants for a job. It also, voluntary opportunities also allow students a chance to grow and develop. You know, you start out as, the volunteer who empties the trash cans, but a year later, you're the volunteer that's designing the literature that the organization is distributing to try to raise money. And then you end up being a development assistant. So that part of having a growth mindset is knowing that you start in the ground floor, but if you do good work and people around you come to rely on you, there are opportunities to move up. So I encourage students to think about the major, to think about part-time jobs, to think about clubs and activities, to think about internships, to think about voluntary organizations. But the last point I want to make, it kind of circles back to the academic side. In our college, most majors have kind of a required set of courses that add up to, 36, 39, maybe 42 hours out of a 120 credit hour degree. So your major, in many cases, is ballpark, a third of your overall college career. So think about what you're doing with your electives. How can you take some classes that will help you to build skills that can complement your major? Think about your minor. Okay, many majors also require students to have a minor. Pick a minor that's going to stretch you and help you to demonstrate your abilities. Certificate programs are becoming increasingly popular, and our college is sponsoring more or co-sponsoring more and more certificate programs. The difference between a certificate program, a major and a minor, a certificate program is really focused on vocational development, a skill package that allows you to demonstrate an ability in a certain area. So as students are designing their course of study, I encourage them when they're talking with their academic advisor and their faculty mentors to think about opportunities that could come their way for a certificate. You can't have a class count toward your major and your minor, but classes can count toward your major, toward your minor, and a certificate. A certificate is just sort of a badge that indicates that you've developed a certain set of skills. So that's a kind of holistic view. I think of it like as a healthy, balanced, nutritious breakfast, right? Your major is that bowl of cereal. Let's call it chocolate covered cocoa bombs. That's your major. Okay, but for a healthy, nutritious breakfast, there's also the glass of orange juice and the 2 pieces of wheat toast and the bowl of fruit. That's where the nutrition actually is. So it's not just your major, it's everything else going on while you're in college that contributes to your overall college experience that can prepare you for life after college.
Joe, thanks for everything you've shared so far. Now I have some questions coming in from the viewers today for you. And just a reminder for those watching, feel free to use the Q&A feature or the chat to ask your questions. So the first one I want to ask you today is, you've mentioned mentoring and mentorships. So as a student, how do I find, or how do I utilize a mentor?
I appreciate that there's an important difference between a mentor and an advisor, right? So students are assigned an academic advisor, but students find mentors. And mentors can come in all different shapes and sizes, and it's not like you need to have one mentor who's going to be your only mentor forever. Seeking mentorship is seeking guidance outside really of an evaluative context. You're just asking somebody to show you the ropes a little bit or give you advice. So a mentor is somebody, I often say, who will ask you how you're doing and wait for you to respond. Okay? That faculty members in our college tend to be interested in helping students, but they also want to be respectful of student space. So if you think that there's a faculty member who's teaching class that you're really, really interested in and think that this could lead to either declaring a major or thinking about a career, go visit the faculty member in office hours. I think just reaching out and trying to create opportunities for one-on-one conversation is a way to find an academic mentor. And the faculty are like the students. They have lots of other things going on in their lives. Not every faculty member has unlimited time. So it may take a few efforts, but part of having a growth mindset is trying new things. And you go into office hours and you think, wow, this person is someone who can really help me. And you just get a vibe that they're just not super available right now. Okay, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But over time, I think for students, just develop a habit of going to office hours and see where the conversations lead. So that's one way to find a mentor. Another way to find a mentor is through some of the extracurricular activities we talked about. If you join a club, clubs have faculty advisors, okay? So if you join a club because you're really interested in whatever it is the club is doing, the faculty advisor, is not the advisor of that club randomly. They're interested in what's going on. And so maybe that's another way to make a connection. Work environment. So you have a job off campus. Over time, that person who's a supervisor, they get to know you a little bit, ask questions. Hey, how can I move? Are there opportunities for me here? Or what can I be doing to help you in different ways than what I've been doing so far? So mentoring, it's like any other kind of relationship. It's a two-way street. But I think for students, I know it can be scary. I know it can be intimidating even. But making the first step and going to office hours or asking supervisor at work or the faculty advisor at club, asking for advice, saying, I'm really interested in this. Do you know if there are any internships in this field, right? Or, I'm really thinking that, I'd like this workplace. Are there any long-term opportunities? If not here, in some, what should I do? Ask questions, see what the responses are. And over time, you can begin to sense like, this person really, truly wants to help me. That's a person who can be a mentor.
So kind of related to that, but maybe on a more personal note, who has been a mentor in your life? Can you talk about any of the mentors in your life and how they helped you grow professionally?
So when I was in college, there was one person in particular who provided tremendous mentoring for me. And I'll tell you a quick anecdote of how this came about. my first year in college, I took a kind of gen ed class in the humanities, and one of the topics was the English Civil War and Revolution of the 17th century, something I'd never really thought about before. And I really enjoyed that part of the class. And so the instructor for that very general sort of class told me that my sophomore year, there was going to be a class on that topic. So I took the class because I was pretty excited about it and want to learn more about it. Well, about 3 weeks or 4 weeks into the class, we're starting to get into the heart of the matter. And the faculty member, asked us, kind of left lecture with a question, when did the English Revolution start? And after class, I walked out and he walked out the other door, and I literally bumped into him. It's like, hey, he's just like, yeah. I'm like, at the end of class, you said when the revolution began. He said, yeah. I said, historians don't have access to that. He's like, huh? I'm like, the revolution begins when someone decides they're going to be a revolutionary. By the time they throw a brick through the window, they've already become a revolutionary. You only notice it when they throw the brick through the window, but the moment when it starts is in their imagination. So he said, come here. And so I went to his office and spent a while talking with him. And that was just kind of how our relationship took off. And at that point, I wasn't planning to be a college professor, but over the next couple of years, as I got to know him and worked with him in different things, he really encouraged me to consider this path. And so in grad school, you have a kind of built-in mentor because grad school is very, very specialized and focused. And so you get to know the faculty in your area. Now, as I got out in the profession, senior colleagues, right? As a new faculty member, I would ask senior colleagues, hey, can we have coffee? Can we go to lunch? I'd like to talk to you about this or that and the other thing. And yeah, you just over time, it begins to feel a little bit natural that you ask people who are further down the road than you are for advice. People like to share their experience. People like to, it can be kind of flattering when someone comes and asks you for advice. And then when I began to do more administrative work, then, when I became a department chair at the University of Mississippi, I would regularly go, again, same thing. I'd find people who've been department chair for a long time, and I'd say, hey, can I buy you lunch? And you pick their brains a little bit. And, sometimes it doesn't go very far, but sometimes these folks actually become friends. And so mentoring, for me, in my experience, it just feels kind of natural, right? Because the mentor is in a position to offer help, and the mentee is someone who's eager to hear what's going on. So there's no question, when I look back across my life, which I, by the way, hope will continue for some time, but when I look back across my life, it is a series of mentoring relationships. I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. Without help from people. I asked for help, but they were willing to give it.